Hey y'all, I'm in the process of replacing the starter now that the battery cables did not improve, or the batteries did not improve my crank speed. So I do believe my starter is going out with 310,000 miles on it. Here's the new starter. 3 bolts, 10 millimeter, 12-point star-shaped bolts. And here's your power, and I think that's your ground, that little cable there. I'm actually unable to get that off as of now, off the starter, but my solution, because the first thing I want to do is actually get that ground wire off, is to come up here. The harness eventually leads up to here, and that's the same kind of harness there. It's very difficult to get off from underneath, and it's zip tied all the way up here, kind of comes out there, and then zip tied down that starter wire. So I've got it disconnected up here first, and then maybe I'll be able to maneuver the starter after I get the 3 star bolts out. Let's go underneath and I can just show you what's up. So the starter is mounted to the transmission, and on a 4-wheel drive truck you've got your drive line right here, and that's in the way, and then you've got these trans cooler lines right here, they're in the way. The oil pans here. Where we're actually going to end up maneuvering this thing is pretty much down past the breather tube there and out somehow. The only way I'm actually going to be able to get the power wire off, which is that one right there with the little ribs on it, the only way that's coming off is I'm actually going to have to get the starter off the truck and then rotate the starter somehow and then get that off, and then try and get that little plug, which right there's the plug at the tip of my finger. Got to try and get that out. If I can't get that out, I'll just cut all the zip ties, pull the whole thing out, and then remove it. That's just the long way to do it, but either way, this is getting done. I cracked all 3 bolts loose. Here's one you can see right there. That one is, they're on there good. I actually used a 4-pound hammer and a block like this and just whacked it, because I didn't have any deep sockets big enough to fit my ratcheting wrench in there, and you're going to want a ratcheting wrench for this. It'll make your life a lot easier. It's a lot tougher to do this with a standard socket. So those are just some tips before you get into this. This is not a fun job at all. Just a warning. I was on the border of having someone do this for me. You can see this would be a fairly messy job, but I actually cleaned it up a lot the other day when I was scouting it out, and when I did that, my hands were literally coal black. There's a lot of grease and oil up in there. It's where the blow-by breather is. The truck doesn't even have any abnormal blow-by at all. It's got blow-by like it's almost new, and it's a diesel, so I mean it's oily in there. Alright, here's the old starter. Tough to get this guy out. I have no idea if it's original or not, because the tag and everything that used to be on it, it's gone. This probably was original though. A lot of blind bolts. This is the power bolt. That was completely blind, me getting that off. I did it through the wheel well. As you can see, it's cranking up good as new again, and to end this video, I want to just give you a rundown of the important points to know and some tips about replacing the starter. Firstly, on the 03 to 07 trucks, you've got this wiring harness here. It's very tough to remove that. That's different than the older trucks, which just had an eyelet there with a 8mm bolt in it. And then on this side is very much the same as the old, where you got your power goes on that copper post there, and then a bolt or a nut goes down on top, tightens it down, and then there's a rubber boot that covers that. So on the older trucks, you would take off the ground, then you'd take off the power, and then you'd unbolt the 3 bolts on the front, and you've got that bolt on the top, which you're blind to. You can't see that one from underneath or from above on this truck either, and you just got to go up there blind with your ratcheting 12-point 10mm wrench and ratchet it off. Same with when you put the new starter on the truck. You're also blind on these trucks. you're blind on this. You can't see it. This is in the way. I actually went through the wheel well. Let me show you. So you can see your fuel pump there. You can actually see the new starter there with a red sticker on it. And you see the fuel pump and the fuel return line. Between those two return lines is about where the power is. And I was able to stick a ratchet through there and tighten it down. And you could see the bolt through the middle of the fuel lines from about this angle. But the rubber boot's there that gets in your way. And you kind of have to push it to the side and then get the bolt tightened down enough. It was really tough to do that. It was really tough. That probably took me as long as putting the new starter in. Anyways, other important points. So you're blind on this one for the most part. Very tough. Blind on this one. So on this particular starter for 03 to 07, I unbolted the 3 bolts and actually removed the starter first. And this wiring harness I disconnected up near the battery because there's another harness just like it. So I disconnected it there just to make sure my ground was disconnected. You probably don't have to do that. You can probably just wait till these are unbolted, then move the starter and try and angle it a bit to get a better look at this, since you can get a grip and pull that off. And then this, I did go in through the wheel well to unbolt that one as well. So I both unbolted it and rebolted the power through the wheel well. Very tight. Anyways, getting the actual starter out is not as hard as a lot of people say. If I got a 4-wheel drive truck and the trans lines are right there, you kind of just gotta, you'll find a way to get it out. You'll wiggle it around and it'll slide past the trans lines, and then around the front drive shaft. Some people said they had to remove the drive shaft. I actually had a solid centimeter of breathing room, I would say, to actually fit this through the drive shaft and actually get the new one up there. That was actually pretty easy for me. I figured it out rather well. These aren't the lightest starters. I don't know how much this weighs. It's decently heavy, but it wasn't an issue for me to lift the starter up through there, through the drive shaft area and past the trans lines and then back into its position. I then bolted the 2 lower bolts first and then went in and did that 3rd bolt that you can't see. So I had the whole starter bolted up before I even put the power and the ground back in. I did the ground last, and I figured that power out real quick, and I just put the ground wiring harness off to the side. I actually kind of tucked it in next to the crankcase breather tube, and it just stuck right there. So it was out of the way for when I installed the new starter, and that's how I did it. It took me about 2.5 hours to do it, but if you had a buddy with you, they could definitely help, keep that rubber boot out of the way and stuff like that. It would have been great to have a second set of eyes, second set of hands on this job as well. But as for new versus reman, I bought a reman, and they are not supposed to last as long as a brand new one. They're not supposed to be as good as a brand new one. It does have a lifetime warranty, but based on how obnoxious this job was to replace this, I sort of think I should have bought a brand new one just so I'd never have to do that again. But chances are these starters are really well made and they last a really long time on these trucks, and it's one of the higher quality components. So even a reman should last quite a while. With that said, hope this helped y'all out. Good luck if you're trying to replace your starter, and I'll see you in the next video.